All right, guys, it is the most wonderful time of the year, but it ain't Christmas just yet, so you don't get your boys singing with you. It's the NFL season, and we got football. I'm loving every single week of it. And once again, I've partnered up with the DraftKings Sportsbook to give all new customers a great offer. Bet $5 or more on any game this weekend, and we'll give you $200 in bonus bets instantly. Everybody's an expert at everything. Now you have an opportunity to show it at the DraftKings Sportsbook. And guys, we ain't stopping there. Every week in October, you can take advantage of one of our great offers. So go right now to the DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet $5 or more on any game this weekend, and we'll give you $200 in bonus bets instantly. All you got to do, use my promo code DCTV. Bet $5 or more and get $200 in bonus bets instantly at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Guys, it's easy. DCTV. Bet $5 or more and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Hey, the DraftKings Sportsbook is where it's at. Because you know what? We got a crown. Crown's yours. Let's go. Another episode of Funky and the Champ. I'm fat. Jamal's like skinny fat. Right? You're skinny fat.
Take it back.
Today I chose violence.
I'm suing. Sue them. I had the mute on for the fight. Sorry, Daniel. I did mute you.
You guys are going to be lifetime enemies because of the shit you say the moment you get a microphone in your face. Bro, you're crazy. All right, guys, we're back. Second episode this week because the news calls for it. I'm Daniel Cormier. That's my boy, Ben Askren. Guys, USADA is gone. I mean,
not yet.
USADA's gone. Dude,
no,
USADA,
January 1.
Dude, it doesn't matter. USADA's gone. You know what's crazy? The moment the news broke, I had so many people text me about what happens now. Is there going to be another drug testing protocol? What did you guys do before USADA? And when I think back to pre-USADA, in Strikeforce, I don't know if I ever got tested, if I'm being completely honest.
Same with Bellator.
And in the UFC, I think we would get tested on fight night. Yeah. Maybe once I got tested prior, but I don't think we ever got tested. Ben, how important is this decision, and how surprising was this decision that USADA's no more?
Yeah, well, Daniel, let me remind you of history here, because I think you probably forgot. This was Dana White and I's first fight. I called Dana a liar. This is I was still in Bellator. He said drug testing is impossible. And I said, Dana White is lying because USADA does it for all these other sports. And someone then repeated that quote to him. And he said, I'd rather watch flies fuck than watch Ben Askren fight. That was the original fight.
Yes.
Hey, listen, Dana, I was proven right. You guys ended up bringing USADA. They did the testing. Now, here's the deal. I actually think they're going to do real testing after. And here's why. If they weren't going to do real testing, why would Conor McGregor have gotten in the USADA pool for the next 2.5 months? USADA is clearly going to test him in the next 2.5 months. If he wasn't clean, he shouldn't have got in. Or he knows that whatever is going to follow this on January 1, 2024 is going to be something real. So that's kind of my take on it right now.
No, actually, you know what? I never thought about it like this, because all the messages I got from fighters were, oh, I'm going to look like this guy come January 1. This is going to be crazy. Like, everybody's going to look like superhuman, super athletes again when 2024, 24 hits. I was like, guys, I don't think that it's going to be that simple, right? I think that there's going to be something, but I didn't know. And the reactions were all over the place. You had people openly saying that essentially they're going to do steroids because now it's going to be no testing. Then you had dudes trying to rewrite history. You had dudes actually trying to rewrite history. My thing is, I saw one person on Twitter write, USADA's 8-year witch hunt is done. It wasn't a witch hunt.
It wasn't a witch hunt.
It was not a witch hunt. And I think the only people that look at USADA as a witch hunt is the people that wanted the sport not to move forward. Because as long as you were doing steroids, we had a lot of guys doing steroids back then, as long as that was real big in mixed martial arts, the sport never could have went to where it went. It needed USADA at the time to
Yes.
legitimize the product.
Yes.
Because you remember, New York would not even sanction MMA.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
USADA comes along, New York sanctions mixed martial arts. It was not a witch hunt. It was a necessity at the time for the UFC and for mixed martial arts to move forward. But let's not make no mistake about it. This was only for the UFC. The UFC moved the sport forward because nobody else did USADA. And I don't know.
Well, hey, let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
So you and I were both subject to USADA prior to ever fighting a mixed martial arts fight because we went to the Olympics. Okay, so if you look at in the early days of USADA comes to the UFC, if you look at the amount of people testing positive from USADA in the sport of wrestling versus the amount of people testing positive in MMA. MMA is like way up here and wrestling's like way down here. But I feel like recently USADA has not been catching very many UFC fighters. So have UFC fighters cleaned up? Have they cleaned up, or have they found a way to get around it?
No, because they've cleaned up. Look,
they've cleaned up.
There is some getting around it. There is some getting around the testing. I think that high-level sports and athletes, if they want to cheat, they will find ways. But as a whole, I think mixed martial arts is much cleaner today than it was pre-USADA. Because I remember when we first started in 2015, everybody was testing positive. I mean, it was crazy the amount of fighters that were testing positive for steroids. It was nuts. But I believe that when USADA got announced, Ben, because we grew up in it, being on the U.S. national wrestling team, I didn't even bat an eye. I was like, whatever. Just
I was like, yes, none of these dudes can't cheat anymore. I was like, yes.
It was the best. And then, you know what's unfortunate, though? If the UFC doesn't, and I don't anticipate this will be the case, but if the UFC doesn't put some sort of real testing in place, it makes me feel bad for the guys that are like Michael Bisping, who were great fighters pre-USADA and then became champion. The moment all things were equal, Michael Bisping became a world champion. That, for me, is what's kind of worrisome. If the UFC doesn't put another high-level testing organization in charge of making sure these dudes don't cheat.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will. And you know, it's funny, just mirroring the UFC, PFL just started testing for the first time this year. And look how many of them dudes popped.
My goodness.
It was nuts. That? It was like, what do we do? They're all positive.
Bro, did you see that?
It was crazy. So many. Holy moly.
I've never seen nothing like that. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Well, Daniel, what I thought was they probably didn't tell him. And I don't know because I don't use, but it's got to take a while to get off, right? It's not like you can say like
those guys, they got to have some sort of process to come off of the stuff when they're doing this stuff.
Yes.
It's nuts. I want to read you something, Ben. Let me read this to you as we start talking about UFC and USADA parting ways. So, UFC, and they broke came news yesterday and it was over. Travis Tigert, who is the CEO of USADA, essentially said that it kind of boiled down to the Conor McGregor situation.
Yeah.
He said openly in public, Conor's now in the USADA testing pool. We will test him up until January. We don't know what's going to happen after January. He also said that the UFC and USADA was in negotiations to extend, and he felt like everything was going good until he said, despite a positive and productive meeting about a contract renewal in May 2023, the UFC did an about face and informed USADA on Monday that it was going in a different direction. We're disappointed for the athletes. We are independent contractors who rely on Independent's gold standard global program to protect their rights to a clean, safe, and fair octagon. The UFC's move imperils the immense progress made within the sport under USADA's leadership. The relationship between USADA and UFC became untenable given the statements made by UFC leaders and others questioning USADA's principled stance that McGregor not be allowed to fight without being in the testing pool for at least 6 months. He added that USADA would not approve an exemption for McGregor after he dropped out of the anti-doping program while recovering from his broken leg. Bro, it sounds like this whole thing comes down to Conor McGregor.
Yeah, it really does. And that, well, I mean, that leads me. I was gonna ask you this question before you read that, but this fits perfectly. Is okay, so then that makes you feel as if the UFC was saying, hey, USADA, let him fight a little faster. We want to get him back in here. He doesn't want to do 6 months, something to that effect. So if the UFC brings this in-house, which they kind of are in that mode of they want to bring more things in-house, but when you bring it in-house, there's such a conflict of interest. Because
Yeah.
if your star misses a test, right? They miss a test by a little bit. Are you going to sweep that under the rug? Are you going to retest them? Or right? What are you going to do to make sure the fights that you want to happen? Are you going to let Conor only do 2 months of testing instead of 6? So I actually love it. It makes me respect that USADA stood by their principles and said, this is what we're doing. And if UFC brings this in house, will it be tainted a little bit, and will it not have the same amount of truth to it?
Well, it'll make everything questionable.
Yes.
If it's an in-house testing firm. That's why I believe that it should be someone out that can hold it to a higher standard, just like USADA. I really didn't know how stern USADA was until I read that. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
this man is
agree.
telling us that they would not budge. And ultimately, by not budging, he is implying that is why the contract negotiations broke down. I hope that they find someone from the outside to do it. I think it just is a better look for the organization.
Is there actually anyone from the outside that will do as good of a job as USADA? Because I don't know that there is.
As much as you hate USADA and people hate USADA, I had some contentious moments with USADA myself behind the Jon Jones thing.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here if this, especially even after when he was going to fight Gustafsson, and they said, like, now the picograms would just live in the system. Like, it didn't matter if he tested positive. It just kind of lives in the system. But now after reading what this man said, I don't think for a second that they were cheating. Initially, I was like, oh, they're cheating. Now I'm like, well, maybe they weren't. Maybe they were really just saying that he's got this stuff in the system and it could live in there for a long time. So it just kind of lives there.
Daniel, what if they got USADA to do it?
What's that? Russian USADA?
Yeah. Please
Russian
tell
USADA?
me. You never watched? Oh my God, what's the movie? I'm forgetting right now. There's the movie about USADA, and then the guy literally tells them, they were literally telling all of their athletes how to cheat and how to beat all the tests.
Are you kidding me?
What is that damn movie? How am I forgetting the name right now?
Is it on Netflix?
Yes, it's on. It's oh my God. So the guy. Okay, so here's the theme is this guy says, I want to be a bicyclist, and I know all these bicyclists are using all kinds of substances. So I'm gonna do with no substances this year. And then I'm going to go get the help of a real pro who's going to tell me the way to get all these substances. And then next year I'm going to do the same thing, and he's going to make a documentary on how much better he gets in 1 year, right?
How much better did he get?
Well, hold on. So he goes over there and finds this guy in Russia, Gregory Rodchenko. And Rodchenko starts helping him. But in the meantime, Rodchenko tells on the Russians for cheating. So then they kick him out. So then he has to come to America. And I think he's still under hiding because they probably want to kill him or something. But he was saying in 2014 or 2016, you don't know what they were doing, bro. They had this whole thing of clean samples, right? It was it was when the Olympics was in Sochi, whatever year that was.
I remember that.
They would pass the vials of piss, the dirty piss, through a hole and pass the clean piss back into the hole for the athlete to take and then hand in.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, it was so nuts. It was totally crazy. I'll find the name of this movie, but you got to watch it. It's totally wild.
That's one we can't use USADA. Maybe what is it? WADA? Is it WADA? Is it the World Anti-Doping Agency? Maybe they could use. I don't know. They spent millions of dollars doing this, so obviously they had a real interest in trying to clean up the sport. All right, last one before we move on.
Icarus. Icarus is the name of the movie.
Oh, I think I've seen that. I've seen the Russian guy before. All right, let me read you this one. All right, you ready? And because now I think guys will try to rewrite history. Jon Jones, my boy, said, man, I survived USADA. First, they said I was guilty of having picograms. Then they considered me innocent, which I don't think that was ever the case. Then next picograms became legal, which I don't know if that's the case. The BS no contest over DC needs to be taken off my record. I never cheated this sport, and I will stand by that until the day I die. I'm the GOAT. So somebody wrote, you're the cleanest athlete in the world, no doubt, in my mind. And then John writes, yeah, I became the youngest champion in sports history, probably the youngest millionaire in the sports history. Unfortunately, I didn't handle it correctly and became a bit of a party boy. It definitely doesn't qualify me to be a steroid cheat. You know nothing about being a star athlete. So he listed some accomplishments and told the guy.
That actually wasn't a bad. I thought what you were going to say was be worse. I actually don't hate that statement.
My part about it is, when did did they say the picograms is illegal? Did they?
I don't know. I didn't follow that. John's had a lot of run-ins with
it's been some things, but for me, I feel like, again, people will try to rewrite history. You can't rewrite history. There's gonna be a time.
Hold on. Okay, I had to look this up, Daniel. Okay, this says he also tested positive for clomiphene and letrozole.
Yeah,
that was a different time.
Yeah, it was multiple times. But again, you could try to rewrite history. It'll be like during baseball, there was the steroid era, and all those guys don't get to go into the Hall of Fame.
Only some of them, only the most notable, like Bonds is in the Hall of Fame, but certain other people are.
Bonds and Clemens and Sammy and Mark McGwire. Like, those guys don't go into the Hall of Fame every year. Will we look back on 2015 to 2023 as the USADA era? And will these guys that had these things deal with issues going forward in terms of tainting their resume, especially if someone that is middling now becomes an absolute superstar after the USADA is gone from the UFC?
That's a great question. Well, I sure hope that they put in a proper testing protocol and don't let people do just whatever they want. I think that would be bad. I really, really hope that does not happen. If that, but so, okay, let me flip that on you. I'll flip that because obviously, and I don't know if we need to name names, but there are significant people, probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, who were champion level destroyers, right?
Yep.
USADA comes in and they're like 1-6 after. 1-7. Like they literally can't win fights. And I actually feel like currently no one feels that way about them. So I have a hard time seeing people feel the other way, you know?
You're right. Yeah. They didn't lose much when they started to lose fights when USADA came along.
Yeah.
We have a short memory as MMA fans. Our memory is super short.
Yeah, super short.
But let me say this. You don't get to rewrite history. You don't get to say, well, first off, I don't believe that it's all true. And this is like one of the reasons that Jones and I could never truly just come to a common ground, because sometimes you just say whatever you want. Dude, I said on TV that I throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. When I really tried to throw a fastball, it was like 65 miles an hour.
Your shoulder probably hurt.
Yeah, my shoulder was hurting for days. It's like, but the reality is I can just say it. So you can just say whatever you want. Doesn't always have to be true. Ben, before I let you go, Islam Makhachev is fighting against Alexander Volkanovski. Yes. Kamaru Usman is fighting against Khamzat Chimaev. What a crazy turn of events from when we spoke on Monday to today.
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
So crazy.
Crazy how fast things have changed. Now, Ben, hats off to Hunter Campbell and the guys at the UFC for making these fights happen. Those guys, that's what they do, right? Yeah. When fights fall apart, they go to work. They make the best of the bad situation. What I would say is that UFC 294 is actually better.
Oh, someone else said this. I don't know if I agree.
You don't? Why?
I thought I was really excited for both those, the main and the co-main. I thought they were great fights. I was excited for them. Usman, he has lost 2 in a row.
Doesn't matter. He doesn't matter. He's one of the greatest.
I know he's a long-time former champ, and he's never fought, or at least hasn't fought in a very long time, at 185 pounds. So that's kind of like, I don't know. I was excited for Chimaev. Chimaev's had like a really weird stretch where, he's been down a weight, he's been up a weight. You know, he missed weight, but didn't miss weight, and then got Kevin Holland. And it's just like, I want to see him in a division, and I want to see him kind of fight the contenders in that division, which, he's beat some really good guys. But he beat Gilbert Burns, but that was at 170. Who is he beat that was really good at 185?
Oh, we haven't even seen him at 185 since he got to the UFC.
And now he's going to fight Usman, but Usman's at 170.
Yeah, it's like two 170-pounders fighting at 185.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good fight. I think it'll test him in ways that he hasn't been tested before. Yeah. Usman's always a guy that's in shape. So we see. Yeah. But then I want to ask you this. I talked to Islam Makhachev yesterday, and he immediately told me Volkanovski's taking this fight because it's a no-lose situation. It's a built-in excuse. Is that the case for him and Usman? Are those guys in positions where it's now no lose? You make a ton of money. If you lose, you took the fight on 10 days. If you win, now you go into God mode. Yeah. I mean, you're the man if you win.
Well, I would say for Usman, the answer is yes, because it's the shortest path to a title fight, because they said the winner gets a title shot, right? So he's coming off 2 losses. He wins 1 fight. He's back in a title. So yes for him. For Volkanovski, I say no, because if he loses again, there's no way they're making the fight the 3rd time, right?
Yeah.
And he lost once. It was very competitive. A lot of people think he may have won. If he loses again, they're not making the – so this is his chance. This is his chance. Yeah. He saw his chance. He took it. And he actually already had a title fight defense at 145 set up, which now they're saying he may or may not do, and they're putting Holloway against Topuria – one like January or February, something like that.
That's not true. You're lying.
That's not true. I saw it online.
You acting like Jon Jones and me right now. You are acting like us right now.
I thought I saw that they were putting Holloway in for the backup.
No, he said Volk said that he was going to fight at the first quarter of the year, January, February. Okay. But now Topuria was saying, I'll be ready to become double champ when we do fight if you win. Man, you can't just make stuff up.
Bad. Crazy, I saw it online. I saw it on the line, so I thought it was facts.
So it must be true. You saw it online. It must be true. No, you acting like Jon Jones right now. I cannot believe you. I don't recognize you. Just make some shit up. Man,
so funny.
UFC 294 is next week, bro, and I cannot wait to get there. The whole USADA thing is very interesting. I can't wait to get to the beginning of the year or towards the end of the year where we get an idea or they determine who's going to be the next person or the next organization that oversees the UFC's testing.
Daniel, they got to do this fast.
Really conversations.
Think about how hard that is. They got to test people all over on January 1st. You're going to be ready to test people all over the world.
Yeah.
Dude, they got to get going.
They're going to make a ton of money. USADA made a ton of money over the course of these last 8 years. All right, Ben. Hey, man, thank you for joining again, dog. This is awesome, man. We don't need to be limited to doing this just once a week, bro. I keep begging you. I keep telling you.
You're lying.
Don't be like that guy.
This is those things that you say online. And
don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that just won't give people what they want, man. Guys,
all right.
I'm Daniel Cormier. That's been Askren. Until next time, like, subscribe, tell your friends about my YouTube channel and that we're doing this constantly. Till next time, peace.
See ya.